Hey folks, hope you're having a great day. This is the next video in our series on how to cut the time it takes you to ship your show, how to make your podcast in the minimum possible time. If you want to see the other videos, check out the description below and you'll see the full list. But this time we're covering smart repurposing, building on what's come before, okay? So repurposing sometimes gets a bad rap. You know, it can mean like copy and paste and people just putting a podcast onto YouTube and that doesn't really work very well. But smart repurposing is about taking what you've built somewhere else and repurposing it to a medium and using those strengths. So in this case, smart repurposing, building on what's come before, to me, is around using anything that you've created in the past to create a podcast episode and repurposing it to the podcast medium. So blog posts are the most common example of this. If you've written a blog post, you've put some work into that, you've planned out a topic, you've planned out some structure, that can create a great script for creating your podcast. Now, I say a script, obviously, probably don't want to be reading that blog post word for word. Quite often writing is very different from speaking, so you might want to repurpose the script a little bit. Or what I often do is take the blog post and I'll read through the blog post and I'll just note down some bullet points as I'm reading the blog post. I can read the blog post in 5-10 minutes, you know, and I'm bullet pointing as I'm reading. And that gives me my script. I've read the post, so I've got it back in my head. I wrote it, so I know the topic. It's back in my head. I've got these bullet points in front of me, and that is then my script for reading it out. So many benefits to this, okay? First of all is that you already have your show notes written. We all know we should be doing better show notes. So many benefits to having good show notes. Mainly that SEO side of things. You know, you've got some text on that podcast page, so people are more likely to find the text version, that blog post, with the podcast episode in there and end up reading it, but then going, oh, there's some audio here. Maybe I should subscribe to this show. That's the main one. But other ones, I mean, there's tons of stuff. It enhances the blog post itself as well, because if you put that audio in there, people are finding that blog post. They then can listen to an audio version of it. Even if they never listen to the podcast, it's making that blog post a little bit better anyway. Now, one smart thing you can do here, again, smart repurposing, is to save a story, an example, a case study for the podcast. That's what audio is great at. Audio is great at stories. So if you've written that blog post, what you can do is you can enhance that content by reading out the content of the blog post. Again, bullet points. You're going to try and do it, not reading word for word, but you're going to do it naturally, read out the blog post, and then tell a story about how you used it, how you put it into action. Or maybe tell a story about how somebody you know did it, or one of your customers or clients or anything like that. Tell that story. And that can really turn that standard info that's in the blog post into something that really works brilliantly on audio. Again, audio just sparkles when it comes to stories. Storytelling is great in that medium. Okay, now a next level version of this, optional, definitely optional here, is that you can do it in a write, speak, write, or a speak, write, speak manner, okay? So what I mean by that is write, speak. So blog post, you write your blog post, then you speak it, you create the podcast version, all right? So you've got a blog post and then you've got a spoken version. The thing I often find is that if I write the blog post, it organizes it all in my head. So this is less repurposing old blog posts and more integrating how you write and create podcast episodes together, okay? So you plan out a topic, you write it down in a blog post. Again, that is you organizing it in your head. You really kind of get that content organized the way you want to write it. Then you speak it, often creates a better, more tight, more concise, more focused podcast episode because you've just written it all down. You've kind of organized it in your head, turns it into better audio. But then I often find as well, when I speak it after writing it, I come up with some new ideas. It's how a lot of us think, I think, is by processing it verbally. We can process it in our mind with text and writing, that works too, but we also process it in a different way, verbally, I believe. Certainly that works for me. And I'll go back and I'll edit the blog post. Maybe I'll add in a story or two. Maybe I'll add in an example or two, or just restructure a couple of things that I realized might have been out of order because I then spoke it out, I presented it. So write, speak, write often makes a better audio episode because I've written first, and then it makes a better blog post because I've then spoken it out and organized it in my head that way, okay? The other way around, speak, write, speak, maybe not quite so natural, but some people do better by speaking first. You present it, speaking, and then after you've kind of organized it in your head by talking it all through verbally, you can write a blog post really easily and quickly. I find you can write a blog post much more quickly if you've planned it for a podcast, presented it, again, organizing it in your head, and then write it. Just write it straight away after you record. Creates a really good blog post. Sometimes then the writing can lead to maybe some additions for the spoken version. Less so, I would say, this way around. So sometimes it's just speak, write, but sometimes it's speak, write, speak, because you might change a few things around the podcast. Maybe you record an extra couple of clips to cut in because you realize you missed something once you're doing the writing process. But that can work as well. So that's the next level of the kind of smart repurposing, building on what's come before. You build on either writing a blog post or speaking a podcast episode. And it helps you get much more from that one bit of content. So this is less saving time in creating the podcast potentially, and it's more about saving time in your overall promotion and content because you get much more from every bit of content that you plan out. So I hope that was useful. Remember, one of the best ways as well to save time creating your podcast is jump into our tool, Alitu. Alitu.com, alitu.com is a podcast maker tool that automates a whole bunch of your podcast, cuts down the time on editing, does all your audio cleanup for you. You can do your call recording in there, straight into the episode builder, drop in adverts with our drag and drop interface. A podcast specific editing tool that's so much quicker and easier than like Audacity and Audition and the like. And then you can put it on our hosting as well. You can publish direct to Alitu hosting and have your podcast out there in the world. Alitu is all you need these days. It's all in one for podcasters, making it super easy, super quick. And then you can get a 7-day free trial if you go over to alitu.com, alitu.com. All right, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, hit that alert button so that you get the rest of these videos as they come out. That is one of the ways to cut the time it takes to ship your show, the goal being to make your podcast in the minimum time possible. I'll see you on the next one.